photography class when you go to college.
So we can use it at a later date.
Yeah, all right. All right. Hey, y'all. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. We're going to talk about different processes of recording, and I'd like to introduce my best friend from like 6th grade, which was over 20 years ago. And we've also been playing music together for over 20 years as well.
For sure.
This is my friend, Timothy.
Good to be here.
Yeah. Pleasure to have you.
Yeah, and I'm a follower and a subscriber like you should be.
Heck yeah. This week's episode, I don't think we said that this is an original song that Timothy wrote. We're going to talk about recording processes and inspiration for writing and all kinds of fun stuff this episode. But I'm going to turn this interview over to Condog. So here you go.
Does original music come to you, or do you seek out inspiration from outside forces?
That's a good question. I like that. I think anybody who creates any kind of music or anything is got to find inspiration somewhere. Sometimes it's artists in particular. Sometimes it's a song in particular. Sometimes it is, like we went on a hike together and I felt inspired to write a song about that, or, any number of things. So yeah, definitely I feel inspired by outside forces.
Alrighty. Talk us through this particular song. Any artist in specific?
Yeah, so I feel like for each part of the song, the answer would be different. I would consider this song 3 parts. Not necessarily a traditional music form. We've got an intro, a verse, and a chorus, and an outro. This is how I would break it down. So yeah, for the intro, I feel like it's very heavily inspired by Dr. Dog, a band we like. You got on your Dr. Dog shirt, so do I. Yeah. So I don't know if that was planned, but yeah, definitely the intro is definitely heavily Dr. Dog inspired. Even though it probably doesn't sound like it sounds really heavy.
It does.
Yeah, it's very. But there was a particular song in mind that I was reaching for on that, and then the verses, what I would call the verses, were very White Stripes inspired.
I was about to say, because you got the doo 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 in there.
Yeah, and some of the riffs, one of the riffs that comes in the second verse, came about because we were jamming a White Stripes song one day, and I played it over that.
Oh yeah.
And then I would say, though, that the choruses, what I would call the choruses, are the least inspired by something else. Not that they weren't inspired by someone else. It's probably just from stuff I've been listening to lately, and it subconsciously came out of me. That was probably the least, like, actively trying to sound like something or be inspired by something. It just was.
Yeah. What recording process do you use? Like vocals first, guitar, drums, bass?
Yeah, so I think we always use the same pretty standard set of rules when we go to sit down and record. I'm not a prolific songwriter or Grammy Award winning engineer or recorder, or whatever you call it, producer. Studio musician. I'm not one of those. I'm not any of those things. So everything obviously is just kind of my opinion, and it's not an expert opinion by any means. But then in all the recordings I've ever done, which I've done a lot of recordings over the year, I guess for the average person who's not a professional, and it's always kind of the same. You start with your drum track, because obviously drums are what keeps everything in time.
Yeah, it keeps the song going.
Yeah, everybody's kind of looking to the drummer for his timing, and then after that, it's always been bass next. So drums, then bass, and then after that, just depends on what else is in the song. A lot of times our songs don't have anything other than some guitar and keys of some sort, whether it be an organ or piano or a keyboard. So generally next would be rhythm guitar, and then keys, and then your lead guitar, such as your solos and your lead licks, and then your vocals generally come last, because I think a lot of times, when you have
it's easier to do vocals over what you were.
Yeah, I think when you have a singer, that's easier for them to be inspired and feel the force of the song or the feeling of the song when they have the complete piece there. If you go sing karaoke, you don't sing karaoke over the drums and bass, you sing karaoke over all the instruments minus the vocals, and that's because it just I feel like it pulls it from within you. So I would say you always do the vocals last, because that is the most complete expression of that particular piece of music for the person to sing over. And two, I'm not a really good singer, but I feel like singing is kind of the most intimate thing you can do when you're recording. I feel like it's more intimate than playing the drums or the bass or the guitar or the violin, or that's your internal instrument, and I think it's the hardest for people to be good at. You can practice all these other things. Not that you can't practice singing, but you can buy a different guitar or a guitar pedal or whatever. You can't buy a different voice, so it's a very intimate part of it, and I think it's important for you to have the full song there before you go to do the vocals.
Yeah. So, thank you for answering these questions, and I'll turn it back to Matt.
This week's episode, I don't think we said that this is an original song that Timothy wrote.